Good evening. The district continues to monitor the most recent developments pertaining to the 2019 novel coronavirus, COVID-19. While at this time, we do not have a confirmed...
The coronavirus is already affecting the district in a lot of different ways. We have canceled almost every field trip from March and April. We will be moving plays and concerts. And right now in the United States, people should not be walking around with masks.
And I remember getting so worried, and I showed my science teacher at the time, and I was like, look at this virus. And he was like, don't worry about that. It's gonna die out by the time it comes overseas.
The masks are important for someone who's infected to prevent them from infecting someone else.
Coronavirus was just a rumor that someone had it in a different state. And we started hearing that there were like more and more people getting it.
When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet.
Going to Florida, they were completely normal. Your average airport, you know, annoying security, everyone in line, no one really cares about anything. We weren't wearing masks. I think we all brought like little gloves and like Lysol wipes, and we just like wiped down our seats before we sat in the plane, but there was nothing crazy. And then you start looking around, and it was so surreal seeing everyone wearing masks, everyone like hiding from like other people and like sitting in corners. It was so much more empty than when we left, and in just those few days, everything had just completely flip-flopped.
I'd been in Europe before, during February break, when it was exploding in Italy. And so I saw on the news in Italy, there were all of these reports of coronavirus and reports of coronavirus. And then when it was time for me to fly home, the people in the airport were all wearing masks, and I was like looking around, I was like, what's wrong with these people?
The rate of infection is going up. It is spiking. The apex is higher than we thought, and the apex is sooner than we thought.
So we had to make some really tough decisions before schools actually shut down. We canceled a bunch of overnight trips, and then we started canceling some of our extracurricular events that took place in auditoriums, large meetings and things like that.
We understand the last several weeks have been extremely challenging and stressful for our community members. Out of an abundance of caution, the decision has been made for the Bellmore-Merrick Central High School District to be closed on Monday, March 16th and Tuesday, March 17th.
The rate of increase has gone up.
We started having meetings trying to anticipate what type of impact the spread of coronavirus, COVID-19 would have on our schools.
I just remember hearing that we had off for 2 weeks, and I was pretty excited about that. I'm pretty sure everyone else was. I was really excited, have a break. It was really cool, and there was no school because, we didn't have to plan for anything.
We remain deeply concerned about New York City and then the New York metro area.
I was really lucky in broadcasting because I work with a really good bunch of kids who are really invested in the program. And I feel like I kind of had the same idea at the exact same time they had the same idea.
Hi, I'm AJ Freed, and I never thought I'd be telling the news in my room.
We went remote. We began producing our shows remote, and I remember reaching out to a couple of the kids as soon as we got the news that we were going on we were going to be learning remotely. I was like, hey, listen, I think we can do these shows remotely, and they were sending me emails. I think we can do the show remotely. So for us, it really, it was in our wheelhouse. Producing news and producing stories was something we could do remotely.
Breaking news tonight, the new stay-at-home orders as cases surge past 200,000 in the U.S., the death toll rising toward 5,000, Florida and several more states bowing to pressure, joining most others in telling all residents to stay home.
Leaders in various offices, from the president to the head of health and hospitals, saying things like, we're going to be fine, everything's fine. And from our perspective, everything is not fine. I don't have the support that I need, and even just the materials that I need physically to take care of my patients.
The hospitals look like a war zone.
Dr. Ibad Yusuf of Brookdale Hospital in Brooklyn says the emergency room is overwhelmed. and medical staff he's been talking to across New York City are describing similar scenes.
Tonight, we're becoming crushed under a tidal wave of unfathomable numbers. By one count, over 1 million have now been infected by coronavirus worldwide since the start of this outbreak. Tens of thousands have died.
I didn't think it would last this long. Like in the beginning of April, I thought we would just come back to school probably in a month. And you know, obviously we didn't come back until September, but it wasn't something that I thought would last as long as it did.
Well, the peak in U.S. deaths is expected to hit this Sunday, Easter Sunday. And Governor Cuomo here warns that even as we see a flattening and an eventual fall in cases as well as deaths, that we need to anticipate a potential second and third wave in this virus.
I did not think we'd be out this long. You know, obviously as time went on and the situation got worse, you know, we sort of anticipated that we'd be out for the remainder of the school year, and that was tough to swallow.
It's starting to get stressful, but I hope we're just, after these 6 weeks, I hope we're just back in school. I miss my friends and I miss my teachers, and I hope that I can finish my senior year strong.
I think, well, I know when I first initially knew it was over, it was around the time of mid-April. You know, it began to sink in that, you know, there's only a month left till graduation. Things are definitely getting worse. So it looks like that we're not going to be able to do anything. For a lot of us, you know, it did seem like the world was ending.
Apparently the governor is going to decide what he's going to do with closing the schools for the rest of the year, sometime this week. I don't know when, but I'm hoping they can figure out some way to get us back in the schools. I don't think it's going to happen, but it'd be nice to go back for one last time.
We don't think it's possible to do that in a way that would keep our children and students and educators safe. So we're going to have the schools remain closed for the rest of the year. We're going to continue the distance learning.
Even though we were in the midst of a shutdown and a serious pandemic, I always have hope. You know, I think I'm the type of guy that thinks of the fact that there's light at the end of the tunnel and that we need to be hopeful with everything that we do.
They are images hard to reconcile with a country that tonight stands on the verge of reaching 100,000 COVID-19 deaths.
So it's been 6 weeks since the coronavirus shut down schools across Bellmore-Merrick, across Long Island, New York, and the nation. In a first-of-its-kind event, BMB is bringing together the Bellmore-Merrick community for a night of fun, togetherness, and competition as we attempt to break the cabin fever once and for all in the great BMB Break the Cabin Fever game night.
I think events like game night gave people the chance to experience something different and not focus on the fact that they were in their homes and not really allowed to go anywhere at that moment. It gave them something to look forward to and a chance to think about something different than the pandemic.
20 seconds!
Oh, No one loves the building and the school district more than I do. And I believe that teachers should teach, and I believe kids should be in school.
St. Baldrick's is one of the events that is coming up.
Mr. Stein came to me and to everyone proposing this idea to do a virtual St. Baldrick's, and he said he wanted me and Rocco to be one of the hosts, and I figured, you know, what better way to end my senior year than host one of the biggest events we put on.
We had already started the planning. All the planning was underway before we experienced the shutdown, and our students had already raised about $25,000 and had put a lot of time and effort into planning it. And I think the biggest thing that stuck out was, despite the fact that there was a pandemic, that didn't erase childhood cancer. So there were still people being diagnosed with cancer, people still suffering from cancer, that we felt it was important to still acknowledge that work and still be able to donate that money, because just because there's a pandemic doesn't mean that there isn't cancer anymore.
So this is a huge event throughout the school year. A lot of people attend, a lot of people watch it, so it's still great to see that this is going on.
Families like us need people like you to fight against cancer. Thank you for helping and caring.
I love that BMB highlighted, you know, our accomplishments over that 10 years that our students have put together. So I think it just was a different take on what we've always done, but a special take.
This Friday, BMB will be hosting the online Faculty Follies, a Bellmore-Merrick faculty talent show to benefit the community covered.
You know, as a principal, as an educator, you want to engage with students, with families, and you want to be able to have students have those same experiences that they've had since day one. And not doing that just felt very strange and very dark, if that means anything.
More than 9.4 million confirmed cases of coronavirus around the world, at least 482,000 lives lost, 121,000 of those right here in the U.S.
Yeah, Anne-Marie, it is Friday, and what a Friday it is shaping up to be. Chaos, clashes, protests, they've all intensified in Minneapolis, where activists are demanding justice for George Floyd. He is the black man who died after being arrested by police. New video shows Minnesota State Police and the National Guard lining the streets this morning, and this all comes after protesters rallied for a third day in a row. Anger over Floyd's death, police brutality, and racism have fueled the unrest.
Actually, yesterday I did attend one of the protests in Merrick. I marched with a group of peaceful protesters. There was a lot of us, and we're just standing up for what's right. I'm for Black Lives Matter, I'm for the movement, and I'm just standing up for their rights.
The hardest thing about teaching about hot-button issues is allowing the kids to express their opinions and to process everything in a safe environment. It's especially hard in this remote world that we find ourselves in today. The kids need us to help make sense of what's going on, and that's just hard to do in a Zoom class.
On the facts, you can reopen, you can increase activity without increasing virus spread. Be smart. You know, I talk about the masks, and I'll talk about the masks until I am blue in my face because they work.
Regarding coronavirus, the governor announced that over the weekend, on Saturday, the state performed over 60,000 coronavirus tests, with 781 tests coming back positive. That is the lowest number of positive results since the stay-at-home order went into effect. And that beginning on June 26th, high schools will be cleared to hold outdoor graduations, with up to 150 people in attendance. Obviously, the senior classes in the schools at Bellmore-Merrick have more than 150 graduates. However, as summer progresses, it is possible that the 150 cap may be raised if data continues to trend in a positive direction.
My greatest highlights, the most special moments in my career at MEPM were revolved around graduation days, you know, and just the families and the excitement, you know, and the celebration. So, you know, we were worried that, you know, we weren't going to be able to provide students with an opportunity to celebrate. So, you know, our kids had an opportunity to sit on their field, be with their parents, and graduate.
Well, that moment, you know, for the faculty and the administration to go to those lengths to, you know, try and care about us, try and care what was going on. I think the faculty and a lot of the students as well felt, you know, it was a little bit of a robbery. You know, we weren't going to be able to experience the same thing. You know, high school tradition has long gone after for a long time.
This morning, summer travel unlike any other year. Millions hitting the road and heading to rural destinations like mountain regions for hiking and exploring. In other words, away from large groups of people in urban areas.
In June, I was just thinking that we are so lucky, which is weird because a lot of people were so angry, so cooped up for so long, but like I got to spend so much time with like my family, and I was joining classes in my pool, which is really a privileged thing to say. I see that now, but it was just a fun time.
Tonight, America surpasses 150,000 deaths, the staggering toll, with Florida, California, and Texas breaking single-day death records.
You know, it was weird. Like, as the school year ended, it was this feeling of, okay, that's over. Now what?
On this Friday, confirmed coronavirus cases around the world now closing in on 14 million, with more than 3.5 million of those cases right here in the U.S. As well, over 1 million Americans get back on their feet.
For the most part, I just hung out outside. We got a pool, so a lot of family time.
And in the summers, I worked at a summer camp, and all of a sudden that was gone. And I had to figure out, all right, you know, for us, it was a financial thing. How do I make enough money to survive the loss of my summer job?
It felt like it was normal until you thought about what was going on around the world, what was actually going on. And being the world that it is, it would take some time for actual normalcy to take place again.
Now, teams are scheduled to report to training camp July 28th, and while there has been no definitive word on whether that remains intact, it will likely be discussed on Thursday's conference call with league owners.
We continue to follow breaking news here. We expected it would happen. In fact, it did. The NBA Board of Governors approved the return to basketball. It is 22 teams that will all play in Orlando.
Obviously, in this environment, meaning the greater COVID-19 environment, nothing is risk-free, but working collectively and collaboratively with the players and the Players Association, our own medical people, the outside experts, we think we created a format and protocols that now that we're inside the bubble, I think our players and all of our personnel can feel relatively safe, but there's no absolute guarantee. We're hopeful, and we believe everybody is doing everything to make this experience as safe as possible.
Summer is far from over, so remember to have fun and stay safe. We'll see you in the fall.
Across the country, the morning ritual is changing profoundly for 56 million K-12 students this school year. For those who return to school in the fall, fewer kids on the school bus, face masks, temperature checks at the front door, fewer kids per classroom, alternating in-class days, and spaced-out cafeteria seating.
If New York can't safely reopen schools, I don't have hope for any part of the country.
I'm actually very positive. I'm hopeful. You know, as a principal, I've always been the guy that always sees light at the end of the tunnel. So I'm really hopeful that we'll have a very successful opening school year.
My hope and goal was that you were going to be starting school on the first day in person without any interruption.
Today is the deadline to look at the infection rates and make a determination. By our infection rates, all school districts can open. Everywhere in the state, every region is below the threshold that we established.
I did not expect this, that is for sure. Again, at the beginning of the summer, I had said that I think we're gonna go back to school and everything's gonna be normal because I just figured that we'd go back and everything would be normal. But starting, my first day was online and I was like, this isn't that bad. Like, this isn't terrible. It's very weird, but it's not that bad. People do online school all the time. Felt like a celebrity, you know, celebrity kids when they do online school. So there was that piece to it. In August, I was just so confused as to how they were planning on doing everything.
After 4 months of reporting from our homes, BMB is back in the studio.
And there are lots of changes here at Mepham and across the district. Welcome back. This certainly is a school year like no other, but speaking for myself, even with the restrictions, I'm happy to be back.
And they're there really to safeguard students against possible air particles that may be flying around the room. So that, along with the masks, really provided a level of safety that we feel pretty confident with.
New York was once one of the highest risk states in the nation, but now the COVID test positivity rate has hovered around just 1% for weeks, down from nearly 15% at the beginning of May.
I remember going to Mepham on the first day and seeing the cage, like, you know, the plexiglass cages things, and I was just so confused. I'm like, what? It feels like we're in a movie, like this isn't real. That it wasn't really like nerves. I was kind of excited to finally see people because, you know, I haven't seen my classmates since March, with the majority of them, and it was just really just confusion.
I just didn't know how they wanted to play the field. Everything was up in the air. I think it still is up in the air. No one really knows what's going on. We're kind of making moves day by day.
Hey Mepham, welcome to the first episode of Midweek Update for the 2020 to 2021 school year.
I'm excited to be back after the last few months to start off the school year in person.
Have a great day, Mepham. Thank you. We can't high five anymore.
A healthcare system on the brink.
That's where we are right now. In a boat, taking on water. And what's ahead of us? Not sunshine, it's a potential storm and a flood.
With coronavirus hospitalizations at a record high, late Friday, one of the largest hospitals in the state ran out of ICU beds. The crisis impacting patients who don't have COVID-19.
I miss the spirit at Mepham. I miss the events. I miss being there at all hours and seeing the smile on our kids' faces, from everything from battle to the games to drama productions, you name it. I miss that spirit in the hallways, and I really hope that we get it back soon.
It's definitely an odd experience. Don't get to see my friends every day, but I really get to focus on my schoolwork.
We didn't have a positive case, so it was a nice way to open the school and to focus on safety and instruction and to ensure that students were gradually getting back into a routine of some sort.
Some classes are a lot easier with my online teachers, but I'd rather be in school.
Alyssa Frederick has 3 kids, and like millions of other parents across the country, she's trying to adjust to remote schooling.
Knowing the president's last negative test could help determine who else may have been exposed to the virus.
This coming Tuesday, Tom and Lily will be hosting a BMB special event, an evening with John Morris on Zoom. You can hear all about his journey from Mepham to the World Series and more.
The day I was drafted, it was a great moment, and I'm so proud that I was able to do it as an outfielder who in high school never hit over 300. So that's pretty cool in my eyes.
This historic 2020 NBA championship belongs to the Los Angeles Lakers.
The big news in sports starts with the World Series finally coming to an end. Congratulations to the Los Angeles Dodgers on their first World Series championship since 1988.
I'll never quit my students. I love them. I need to be with them, and I love what I do, but I don't know if I'm going to make it the year. And quite frankly, I don't know any teacher who does.
Welcome to NBC News Election Headquarters. Live coverage of Election Night 2020. It is finally here.
Yeah, polls are already closing around the country. Here's what we're going to be watching tonight. First, it's the fight between Donald Trump and Joe Biden.
I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that, on that day, whether you were a supporter of former President Trump or for a supporter of President Biden, I'm hopeful that, that whoever was elected that day would do the best job that they possibly can for the American people. That's kind of like the America that I want to live in, that, people are supportive of each other, and we start realizing that we as Americans probably have more in common than we do that separates us.
Start this hour with the U.S. COVID crisis. 148,000 new cases reported yesterday. According to our own NBC News tally, that is the highest single-day total of this entire pandemic. Many states are now reintroducing safety measures they haven't had since the spring, as the number of people in the hospital hits all-time highs.
Now we're facing a third wave that is trending to be more dangerous than any we have seen before.
My initial reaction was, my first thought was, oh no, are we, is this gonna kind of set us back? Is this gonna, is this gonna put us out of schools again? But like I said, I think we're so on top of these things now, and we have all these things in place now that are helping us.
It was challenging. This is prior to Thanksgiving. We were hearing on the news that there would be a surge because of the Thanksgiving holiday and because of quarantine fatigue, where people are kind of sick and tired of being home.
While the governor there is warning against holiday gatherings, comparing Thanksgiving dinner to Russian roulette.
My advice on Thanksgiving, don't be a turkey.
We asked people to just be responsible when celebrating Thanksgiving and the holidays, and we expected a surge after the holiday season that we received.
No, I come from a family where we usually have big holidays, and it was not normal by any means. And again, everybody just being precautious and being responsible, and hoping that it was just one Thanksgiving and one Christmas and so forth, that we would have to be like this, and then hopefully for next year be back to normal.
It was only celebrated with the people that live in my household, and it was small, yet we made it fun.
Every day, thousands more arrive at hospitals across the country. Fueled by another single-day record of new infections, medical centers like Providence St. Joseph near Los Angeles have seen COVID admissions triple.
But this time around, there aren't nearly as many stay-at-home orders, despite infection levels averaging 6 times higher than what we saw in April. And although the rollout of the first vaccines began earlier this month, we will likely have to wait well into 2021 before the world is protected from coronavirus.
Good afternoon. Due to the winter storm warning and anticipated hazardous road conditions, the Bellmore-Merrick Central High School District will be closed tomorrow, Thursday, December 17th. Please stay safe and be well.
It's nice to have a day off so that I don't have to worry about going into school or having schoolwork. And it's nice to be able to relax and sleep in and play in the snow a little bit.
Tonight, the COVID crisis is growing worse. There have already been 5 million new cases in the U.S. this month alone, the highest by far since the pandemic began. With so many people gathering over the holiday, health officials worry about another surge.
Both my wife and I were very concerned about it. We weren't in favor of going back full time, again, because of all the problems that happened between Thanksgiving and the December holidays.
During lunch, she would watch students stuff their faces or collect extra food on Fridays because it was their last meal until Monday. And when I heard that, I couldn't sleep, really. It just bothered me so much.
So every Friday, a special delivery. Backpacks filled with food, courtesy of the school pantry, delivered directly to classroom doors. But now, with the pandemic, a different destination, to the homes of students who need it the most.
This year, the Community Cupboard is helping the community by baking treats for the people in need. The participation in government classes went to the cupboard to help give back to the community.
Think of it as Santa's workshop. These elves are community members, local businesses, and older students.
Normal years, I would see my family. I didn't see my family this year besides drive-bys and drop-offs. We dropped off gifts at people's houses and then we left. We didn't have any meals together or anything. With my temple, we did a virtual Hanukkah menorah lighting together.
Tonight, for the first time in generations, the streets of Times Square are mostly empty on New Year's Eve, capping off 2020.
I think whenever I think of the new year, I think of a new beginning, and I think that I was hopeful that 2021 would bring some families and some people a little bit different joy and happiness. I think 2020 was a hard year for a lot of people. From getting those phone calls to hearing that family members had contracted COVID to, people were in the hospital, or to even, we had members in our community that lost their families, lost loved ones. So I think that was really hard for a lot of people. And I think that, my only hope that I prayed for was that, 2021 would bring that symbolic new beginning,
For those of you who are just joining us, this is a special report of the CBS Evening News. We are witnessing history and what can only be described as a national disgrace. As we come on the air, the U.S. Capitol is under lockdown after violent mobs, stoked and encouraged by the words of President Trump and his allies, stormed the building while the House and Senate were in session. They were meeting to count the votes of the Electoral College. Supporters of President Trump carrying flags with his name on them broke down doors.
We aren't even close to being out of the woods. Every one of these numbers is devastatingly high.
The county also confirming its first known case of the highly contagious UK variant on Saturday, which the CDC warns exhibits rapid growth and could dominate the U.S. by March. Dr. Fauci also warning it's not the only mutation he's concerned about.
It's very, very, very difficult. I wish I had all the answers. I think there are so many people in the nation's leadership and schools that wish they had all the answers. We certainly know that we need to keep kids and staff safe and as safe as possible. That's the main thing.
Democracy has prevailed.
I think whenever I think of the new year, I think of a new beginning, and I think that I was hopeful that 2021 would bring some families and some people a little bit different joy and happiness. I think 2020 was a hard year for a lot of people. From getting those phone calls to hearing that like family members had contracted COVID to, people were in the hospital, or to even, we had members in our community that lost their families.
Recently on the last Sports Talk, we mentioned the loss of winter sports championships. News hit the air on January 25th that Long Island will resume sports as of February 1st. After a few snow days, teams have started practicing and games are set to return on Wednesday, February 10th.
So obviously we're still extremely excited that we heard that news that there was a chance and a good probability that we could still play. So we're all really happy about that, and hopefully everything stays the same way and we can still play.
I mean, I think everybody that can get vaccinated should get vaccinated, because this does not go away until we all have that extra layer of protection. And it was a no-brainer to me that this is something that has to happen.
You know what I mean? I'm hopeful that a vaccination leads us to, not having remote learning, so I can have all my children in one place.
A lot of teachers, as you said, started getting vaccinated in January. They got their first dose then. Now a lot of teachers are getting their second doses as we speak.
Now for today's quote of the day. A new year is all about new beginnings. So with that in mind, we must let go of what we have planned and to accept what is waiting for us. It's a new year, Medlem. Let's grab new opportunities and the new world that is waiting for us.
These vaccines have the potential to be real game changers as we go into 2021. You can effectively end the U.S. epidemic.
And Pfizer isn't the only one making huge strides in the vaccine race. We now have 3 extremely promising vaccine candidates.
Vaccines is very, very exciting. This really brings hope to us that we could actually see the light at the end of the tunnel for COVID and for all of us.
I know the numbers have already began to come down, so that's great. I think that more and more people are getting vaccinated, and I think it'll definitely help create a spike in the right direction, a spike in downward, where less people are showing positives.
The vaccine distribution and program implementation is going to be the most complex vaccination program ever attempted in human history.
To achieve herd immunity, experts say that about 70% of the population needs to be vaccinated or have natural antibodies. Pfizer's vaccine requires 2 doses.
Urgent action by this Congress this month to put sufficient resources into vaccine distribution and manufacturing.
People are fairly hesitant about vaccines, kind of in general, but mostly this COVID vaccine. They're very hesitant to get it.
Though some may be hesitant towards this new vaccine, many will assure you that it is not only completely safe, but completely necessary.
I understand that this is new, and there's a lot of uncertainty in general, but I think if we all become vaccinated, and we can help each other out by doing that.
Hello and welcome to the special BMB Sports Update. I'm BMB Sports Director Tom Morrow, and we're coming on the air with BMB's wall-to-wall coverage of the return of high-risk high school sports. My co-host, sports reporter Lily Epes, went behind the scenes of what the return of sports are like and the first feel of athletes getting back to action.
Sports are a big part of what the Mepham community is all about. COVID-19 put Mepham sports in jeopardy, but as a community, our administrators and coaches came together to make adjustments for a safe season.
I'm really, really excited about it. I am excited to be back with my own team. I'm excited to see our students enthusiastic about the things that they love. Again, it's really nice as a teacher to hear your kids starting to talk about upcoming games and being with their friends, and I think that we definitely can do it safely.
February 1st marks the return of practice for basketball, ice hockey, and wrestling in New York State. Also football, volleyball, and cheerleading.
Once we found out that it was actually happening, it was really exciting. We all texted in our group chat, and we were excited to be able to get back onto the court together.
It was a nice refresher, and to breathe and know that we were going to start over.
I never thought in a million years that we'd be able to do it, but thanks to the hard work of our drama club, our
Drama Club President Tyler Weinstein and Mr. Mitrio, we were able to pull something off, and that our play is going to be May 21st, and we're going to have masks on, clear masks, and it's remarkable that we're going to be able to do this, and I'm really happy about it.
So having sports back, I think, was definitely needed. It was needed for the average person, and it was needed for peace of mind, because people need an escape.
Definitely will not miss a mask, so hopefully these eventually go away and everyone's safe in the building. I just miss just going back to a normal life. I hope we have a prom next year and homecoming and sports resume and all the fun things that everyone can engage to in high school, because you just miss just a normal world.
"2020 and the coronavirus taught me to be appreciative for all the things I have and all the little things that we take for granted. Ironically, on March 8th, at about 11:30 p.m. after Nationals had ended, I said to Ms. Stack and Ms. Geller, I'm so excited for a chance to have a little bit of a breather and take a break and unwind right after St. Baldrick's is over. This is not what I intended, though.
Listen, there is hope right now, and I'm thankful for the hope. The vaccination plan is underway. With seeing infection rates seem to be dipping, especially on Long Island. It was 3% over the weekend, and those are all good signs. We're also testing athletes right now, and out of 800 tests that we've done so far over the last few weeks, we've only had 3 positive cases. So that is really a bright sign as well.
Be really appreciative of what we have and not expect anything to just be there. Our senior year was taken away like that. It was wiped away.
I just miss just going back to a normal life. I hope we have a prom next year and homecoming and sports resume and all the fun things that everyone can engage to in high school, because you just miss just a normal world.
We found ways to do things that people never thought would happen, like online school is like crazy with all the technology.
There's so much to learn from the past, always. I think from 2020, I learned a lot of things personally. Just everything around you is changing constantly with this whole pandemic. Not to mention, life goes on still. Life didn't just stop. For a while there, everyone was like, the world stopped. No, it didn't. The world is still moving, but everyone is just living kind of differently. We have to adjust to something new right now.
I miss the spirit at MEPM. I miss the events. I miss being there at all hours and seeing the smile on our kids' faces, from everything from battle to games to drama productions, you name it. I miss that spirit in the hallways, and I really hope that we get it back soon.
I think definitely what I'm going to take with me is, making the best of a bad situation. A lot of people were devastated by this pandemic. A lot of people were devastated by 2020. And the one thing, I always was thankful for was my health and the ability to get up every day and, function and do what I had to do.
I want so badly to give students back the high school experience that they deserve, rich with curricular and extracurricular opportunities. And, that's going to be our goal next year.
2020 has taught me a lot about life and a lot about taking advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves, making sure that the people around you, the people that are important to you, know that they're important and that you don't miss any opportunities. The thing that you can do today, do it today, because tomorrow you might be stuck inside for a year and a half.
I will be changing my outlook on things as we move forward. Right now the numbers are decreasing in Nassau County and throughout the state and the country for that matter. So I'm hopeful that things are getting better as more people get vaccinated.